I have been on sales meetings from six-figure companies to seven-figure companies, and I have seen exactly what are successful companies doing and what maybe aren't so successful companies are doing. And I've seen myself what it actually takes to have a seven-figure business and how meetings are such an important factor of that, where once again, you're keeping your culture, you're motivating people, you're using it as a tool. You're keeping everybody up to track. You're training people. Everybody's developing. Everybody's learning. Everybody's progressing. And when you can run sales team meetings the right way and you know how to, honestly speaking, it's one of the key factors to get your business to seven figures a month and beyond. Seriously, like the power of meetings, and I've seen it firsthand where when I was a setter, when I was tasked to actually run the meetings myself, I've seen exactly what it takes and what are the intricacies of having good sales meetings. And there's pretty much three things that I've broken it down to. It's a very simple overlay where, again, we're going to discuss the objectives, what happens after the meeting, and what needs to be done. And there's 3 pointers, whether it's team meetings. These are meetings that are run every single day. You have one-to-one meetings. These are usually meetings that you have with a sales manager, a sales director, once again, getting that one-to-one aspect. And number 3, pod meetings. This is an overlooked one. Not many people know about this, but it's very, very crucial. Starting off with team meetings every single day, right? The objectives during a team meeting, right? You want to discuss daily wins. And I'm actually going to go over it one by one and specifically even the reasons why we do some of them, right? The first one, daily wins. 5 to 10 people out of the team need to raise their hand and need to share a win, right? This was a standard. One of the companies that I was working with where we were doing at our peak 3 to 4 mil a month, which was unfathomable for me. It was literally my first offer. It was completely out of this world. I didn't know that was even possible. But we had a non-negotiable rule where every single meeting in the morning, everybody shared wins. And it was a bare minimum standard that 5 to 10 people raise their hand and share a win, right? Whether that's a win, a sales win, right? Whether that's a personal win, whether it's a life win. Maybe it's they just got fucking married. Like whatever happens, they need to share a win. And that spirit, when somebody shares a win on the team, people are cheering, people are congratulating, raises the spirit. And it's super crucial that you do this every single day. Number 2, it's a way where you align where the company is and where it's currently at. All right, what's currently happening? What's our revenue this month? What's the scenario where we're at? What's working? What's not working? But specifically giving alignment to where the company's at, right? To get to a certain destination, you need to know what your current destination is and where you're currently at, right? And this is why sales meetings need to be also truly transparent. People need to know exactly where they're at and diverge towards a vision. Where do we need to be at? And number 3, anything that is coming to fruition, right? One of the biggest reasons a lot of companies and a lot of reps churn, they don't see the vision. They don't see the future. They don't see what's going to happen, how things are going to be different, how they're going to start making more money, how the company they're working for is starting to be bigger, expanding, that they have new roles that they can occupy. That's when people churn. And that's one of the biggest reasons why people leave is they don't see what's coming into fruition, what's actually happening. Am I just going to be in this position forever for months and years? That's why you need to discuss what is actually coming to fruition. Next one, necessary updates. You have a meeting on Friday and you're doing a special spiff, right? Which is where deals that are closed on Saturdays and Sundays are bonus deals, right? To incentivize people to work on weekends, right? Whether that's commission changes, whether that's ads being changed so that leads, different types of leads are coming in, different applications, different roles closers or setters need to do. Once again, giving necessary updates, keeping everybody aligned. And one of the most important ones is reinforce culture, right? Having a cult-like army. And again, I'll premise the same example. The company I was working with when we were doing 3 to 4 mil a month at our peak, it was a cult. It was a cult-like standard where we had phrases like, let's go. Everybody, if somebody watches this video and they were at that company, we had phrases where we'd say, let's go, right? When somebody closes a deal, when somebody shares a win, when we speak in the meeting, when we end the meeting, our phrase was, let's go. It's super important that you reinforce culture within your company so that it's like a cult-like army. People don't want to leave that environment. People like that environment. And when you can create that cult-like army culture, right, whether it's phrases, whether that's characteristics, whether that's traits, once again, make sure in these daily meetings, one way or another, you're reinforcing culture. All right, the objectives after doing all the following above, everybody walks away with 1 to 2 action items, right? They know they've been updated, whether it's something that's happened, something that's coming into fruition. They have 1 to 2 action items, right? Whether it's people sharing wins and sharing wisdom, more action items, right? Secondly, increase in culture, right? Again, it's a culture reunited. It gives that energy and people are more inclined to that. And I'll say once again, the biggest reasons why people happen and why people churn is 99% of the time is because of culture. They don't like the people they're working with. They don't feel like it's going anywhere. And it all comes down to culture. Like you can be in the worst times possible, but when your team and your company has a good culture, everybody's going to stick there. Next one, people have direction and a path to continue. They have a clear vision. They have a clear direction of what's going to happen, how they can continue growing and progressing. Everybody leaves with an energy boost, right? There was not a single time when everybody's sharing wins, we're amped up, we're fired up, where we didn't get an energy boost, right? And especially as sales, where whether you're a setter, whether you're a closer, like the people who are working on your team, it's an energy boost, right? And again, that's the whole point of having this. It's like sales is a very repetitive, monotonous thing when you're going full breaks. Having that team meeting needs to be an energy boost. Needs to bring people's spirits up, and that's the whole point of doing it. And then once the meeting is done, breakouts are triggered, right? Setters go on into a breakout room with the sales manager, and closers get breakdown into the closing manager or usually the sales director. We'll start with the setter. It's super straightforward, and it's very cloned of what happens in the breakout rooms. Setters go over setter-specific KPIs. How's everybody's numbers? This is the sales manager pointing it out to the team. What are the sales metrics looking like? What are the targets? What's our bottlenecks? Where are we losing people? What time are we losing people? What do we need to work on, right? Setter specific updates, any changes, anything that needs to be updated within the setter frameworks. Role plays, right? So setter is actually role playing, whether it's peer-to-peer, sales manager to setter, once again, role plays, getting comfortable with it, and general Q&A, right? Especially if you're bringing in onboarding new reps, people are going to have questions, right? And even some of the experienced guys, they still might have questions. And once again, bringing that camaraderie. Like when it's a setter camaraderie, it's like everybody's coming together. It's the setter team making progress. That's the vibe you really want to instigate. Same with the closing, very much identical. Closer specific KPIs. What are the close rates? Right? What are the pitch rates? What are the offer rates? What's happening specifically with the closer KPIs? Specific closer updates. Anything that needs to be changed, whether it's the offer, the way people need to be start switching the way they pitch, whatever it is, and closer specific updates. Right? Role plays, Q&A, and once again, same concept as the setters, be given that chance to the closers. All right, and that's how you run everyday team meetings. This has to be every single day. And the only exception for people not joining those team meetings is if somebody's selling. Any other time, people need to be there with the correct standard. Right, cameras on, microphones on, energy state has to be on point. You can't be joining on the calls grumpy, right? And this has to become the standard that everybody goes and abides by. All right, next one-to-one meetings. All right, so these are one-to-one meetings, whether directly with sales managers, directly with sales directors. And once again, this is weekly or bi-weekly, right? Again, some people, especially if you're more experienced, maybe you don't need that more hands-on help, but you definitely, regardless of the scenario, you want to have one-on-one meetings with your team members, checking up on them, making sure they're good, right? The objectives of doing this, right? Diagnosis of performance. What's their performance metrics? Where are they currently at? What's specifically happening to them? Where are they losing on deals? Where could they be doing better, right? And we also had a standard when I was a sales rep where we don't just show up to the call saying, oh, I need help. I'm not setting any deals. No, we had a standard where we had to show up to the one-on-one meeting with a correct diagnosis of this is my bottleneck. These are my numbers. I'm losing people here. How do I fix this, right? And that's how you have efficient one-on-one meetings as well, right? You're not just putting up your hands in the air. You're being proactive and you're going over the diagnosis of what your performance is. With the person you're having the one-on-one with, you're uncovering bottlenecks, right? You're teaching the rep exactly what's going on with him, how he needs to switch things, what does he need to alter. Again, uncovering those bottlenecks. Practice and test it out there and then. Whatever has been instigated, whatever has been bestowed on the rep, teaching them, role-playing it, making sure that they get it, they leave the call, start implementing. The whole point. And lastly, of course, like motivate them individually. All right, I'm actually going to make a video on this as well in regards to how do you actually onboard reps. But when you have a team, you need to know people's individual reasons of why they're doing what they're doing. Just how you would gap a prospect, or you would tell them where their current situation is, what's their future state, where do they want to be at. You need to do this with your team members. You need to know what clicks them, what gets them out of bed in the morning, what gets them moving, and use that again to motivate them individually, to get them amped up, right? So they're not just doing things for no reason, like they have a vision, they have a target, and motivate them individually. Right? The objectives after having a one-to-one. Rep sees the issue and the problem. Where are they failing? What's going on? Right? They see it. They see the vision. They see what's going on. He has a clear understanding of what needs to tweak. Like what are the tweaks? Like what does he need to change? What does he need to alter? Internally motivated, right, to keep crushing. By individually motivating him, he has that spark of motivation again. He has that thrill. Even if he already has motivation, you're just amping it up more. You're giving reminders. Ultimately, of course, starts applying it. So actually starts going out there on the field, whether a setter, whether a closer, and starts implementing it the next minute. That's the goal. That's the objective. And obviously, ultimately, the rep continues crushing. Next, we have pod meetings, right? These are run 2 to 3 times per week. And they're a subset of groups within the company that have a pod meeting, right? So this could be a mix of setters and closers. Usually it's best to kind of have a mix. The pod meetings can be a little bit flexible depending on what are the people structures, how big is the company. So it is very vague, but pod meetings are specifically breakout rooms with specific teams, right? And ultimately, normally the person who runs the pod is usually a very experienced person, right? So whether they're the actual sales manager, whether the sales director, whether it's the best closer on the team, whether it's the best setter on the team, teaching setters, but it's just little breakout rooms and little masterminds within the company and within the subsect of general team meetings, right? The objectives of pod meetings are very simple. They're a lot more open and laid back, right? You don't want your company to be corporate. You really don't. You want your company to be chill. People need to love what they need to do. They want to grind. They want to wake up. They want to be excited. This is a chance where everybody needs to be laid back. Like this should be a very open environment, very chill. People are shooting the shit. Like that's super important when it comes to pod meetings. You don't want to have an environment where people have masks under themselves. People aren't open. They aren't joking around with them. You need to have that open environment, right? So that's one of the objectives. Uncover pod bottlenecks. What's the team actually going through? What's a consistent theme the team members are going through? Right, whether it's the setter speaking to that type of lead, an A-type prospect, and they can't find it. Nobody on the team can actually fight them. And the experienced person tells them how to overcome that. Right, again, undercovering the whole general pod bottlenecks. Right, the pod shares what's working. This is a very good framework. This is also what I mentioned also, it's like a mastermind effect. The pod actually shares what's actually working for one another, right? The best reps are telling them like, this is actually working for me. I'm actually doing this instead, and it's actually making me a little bit better. I was facing issues when it came to tonality. Now I switched it to this, and now it's working. Again, pod shares what's working. Very good frame. Then there's always an undercovering of a main teaching, right? The person actually running the pod has a main teaching, a main lesson he will be undercovering, right? Whether it's a tonality practice, whether it's an opening phrase, let's say it's closers, whether it's how to go about the pitching aspect of it, keeping it short, keeping it concise, straight to the point. Whatever it is, the pod leader has to come to that meeting with a main teaching, right? Something that's actually going to take the people with a good educative lesson or a thought that they can then obviously go on to and to apply. Ultimately, actually builds camaraderie. And this is probably the best place along with the team meetings that builds camaraderie, right? Because the whole point of doing these meetings as well, it's kind of like a competition and it's healthy competition and everybody's aware of that, but it has that camaraderie effect, right? Where let's say you're 2 setters on the team, you have you and your friend, where it's like you're both in the trenches, you're both setting calls. Or let's say you're 2 closers on the team and you're on the same pod. We're both closing deals, we're pushing our team forward. And you need that camaraderie because again, that will only help performance, company culture, churn rate, and once again, motivate the team to get the best out of people. And that's a huge effect. Like the way this builds camaraderie by having this set up through the roof. Objectives after this happens, right? Every rep leaves with at least one actionable takeaway, something that they can go and apply straight off the bat, right? They have a clear next step into implementation, right? They know what they need to do. They spoke to everybody. They have their solution. They know where they're at. They know where they want to be. Time to apply it. And thirdly and lastly, stronger peer accountability. When you share yourself to a team, you tell them, this is what I'm facing with. How can I help this? People tell you the responses. Now it's on to you to implement it. You have that stronger peer accountability. Once again, adding into the camaraderie where it's like, you've said it. We know your problems. We gave you the solutions. Now go out there and make it work. And that's very good because again, it adds that stronger peer accountability. And ultimately, the rep continues crushing. And this is pretty much what this all does for the reps, right? Accountability plus a standard. There's a standard towards showing up every single day. There's a level of accountability, things that they need to be done. And it's just a standard, the company standard, right? Strong camaraderie. People are like brothers in here. People know what they need to do. They've got each other's back. There's no snaking. There's no toxicity. There's none of that type of stuff. There's strong camaraderie. People in the trenches, battling it out like brothers. That's the vibe you want to give. Competition. And I should maybe put here healthy competition, but it's competition in general, right? Whether it's the pod setups, different pods fighting against the other, whether it's in the team meetings, everybody wants to be the best. They want to be the best. They want to continue self-developing. And by pushing out the best in themselves, they make the best out of the next person. And it's just the flywheel effect of everybody just becoming better and better and better and better. High morale and energy. Everybody has a good mental state, right? Everybody, when it comes to the team meetings, the pod meetings, the whole vibe is everybody has a high morale and they have a high energy, right? People are driven. It's not acceptable to show up to meetings low energy, not excited, to go out there and crush the day. That will sink you. That will sink you. And the thing is, you can have one of those people in the company and they will bring the whole team down, to bring the whole morale, the whole of the energy. Everybody needs to be as positive as possible in the good times and in the bad times. Skill development, right? People don't just join the company and think, oh, I'm just going to do the same thing endlessly and endlessly. No, there's a skill development, or there's an ongoing process where you're learning new things. You're uncovering mistakes. You're learning new things. You're actually implementing it. You have a skill development. Another reason why people leave companies beyond just the churn and the culture, which culture is arguably the most important. But another reason is people don't feel like they're making enough progress. When somebody doesn't feel like they're growing, they're not learning anymore, they're not progressing, they don't have a clear vision of next it's going to be a closer, next it's going to be a sales manager, then it's going to be a sales director. When people don't see that vision, they leave. Even if you do have a good culture, if you're still lacking that skill development and people aren't learning, people aren't progressing, they're out. Which is why sales meetings are, again, very big enforcers. Another point, shared vision. Everybody has a shared vision. It's a whole team. We're all targeting the same target and we're all going after it. And it doesn't happen by one individual person, it happens by the whole team. So everybody has to be aligned. Consistency plus rhythm. Daily times for the team meetings, every single time. Consistency and rhythm. Pretty much 2 to 3 times on the pod meetings, right? Bi-weekly and weekly one-on-one calls. There's consistency and rhythm. It's a never-ending loop of learning, getting better, progressing, making more money, and becoming a better person. It's never ending. Clear direction. Once again, clear target, clear direction of where one needs to be. Better culture by reinforcing culture behaviors, whether it's phrases, meetings, call-outs, traits that the whole team have. Once again, reinforcing that culture. You need to have very strong boundaries of what your culture is. And like I pointed to the example I said earlier, our phrase was literally, let's go. Whenever somebody gets a piff, whenever somebody shares a win, our phrase was every single body says, let's go. And when we would type it, it would be LG. That's how it is. Whatever you need to do, you need to think about it and need to reinforce that culture. And then personal development, right? I had a very good quote and it always stuck with me from my beginning of a sales rep. I was a setter at the time and this closer told me this quote. He told the whole team this quote. And he said that sales is just a self-development course with a pay stub attached to it. That's all it is, right? So it's a personal development course, but the only difference is it's just with a pay stub attached to it. Right, so people like beyond just learning the sales, setters, closers, sales managers, sales directors, it's all a personal development journey. Knowing how to act with people, how to conversate, how to undergo failures, how to get back with them, how to analyze bottlenecks, how to come up with solutions. That's a very good quote and it always stuck with me. Next one, what this does for the management, right? Visibility plus control, right? You have team meetings, you have one-on-one meetings, you have pod meetings, where once again, you can oversee everything, you have clear visibility, clear outputs that could be asked, right? Whether it's a specific team member and you want to see how they're doing, there's visibility and control, right? Patterns that people are spotting, things that they're doing. You have that aspect of visibility and control. Data plus forecasting, right? You're using it as a chance to get data, to undergo over updates from the company, what's happening next. It's a chance to go over things like data and forecasting. Retention on reps, once again, increasing that culture, making sure people are feeling like they're making progress. Once again, keeping that retention on reps. The amount of people in the space I'm seeing right now with people leaving 2-3 months, maybe 4-5 months with an offer is going through the roof. Everybody's doing it, right? So that's why it's more important than ever to have these things actually set up where that's not your company, right? You can have ride or dies with you the whole way through, the whole team. Next thing, scalability, right? Predictable. Everybody's constantly learning. Everybody's constantly self-progressing. Everybody's making progress, which leads to inevitably scalability, more scale, more revenue, more growth. Next thing, culture, leadership, people being leaders. Sales also teaches you how to be a leader, how to lead people, right? Because you're leading prospects, right? So then again, it enforces people like the pod leaders, the sales managers, the sales directors, the people on the team to be culture leaders. Super important. Then next we have development engine, right? Specifically people having an environment where they're learning. Like I said, back to the point we said earlier, it's like they're progressing, they're getting better, right? They have the necessary tools where they're learning something new every single day and they're getting better and better and better, right? Next, obviously time leverage, right? Time is not wasted with a system like this. There isn't a single time where time is being wasted. It has clear objectives that you need to be accomplished and what needs to be happening within these calls. And it has that time leverage, right? People are getting better by every single minute that they're attending on one of these calls. If not, there's a mistake. I think confidence in vision, right? It helps when people on your team have the same vision and confidence that you do, right? It's very important people are instilled the right values in returns of they believe this shit is gonna go up. They believe in what you say as a leader, that as an info and as a coaching business owner, where you think this is needs to be and where we're heading, people need to have that confidence in the vision of what's going to happen. And when you put all this together, this is literally one of the biggest ways you turn your coaching business into a 7-figure business, right? Because again, the importance of having quality sales meetings, good company culture, people constantly learning, people getting better, healthy competition, camaraderie, all of these pointers that we've went over today, it's like this is only going to help you tenfold. And generally speaking, when you can actually implement these systems, people know what they're doing, they're being instilled the right things. This is how you have a hungry team, and this is how you have an A-player team. The like on the offers I was working with, how we were doing 3 to 4 mil a month. And I guarantee if we weren't having this sales meeting, the way we conducted sales meeting, the way we were learning, the way any of our sales meetings were focused, whether it was one-to-one, whether it was pod, whether it was in a team meeting, I guarantee if we didn't have this specific structure, this shit wouldn't have been a 3 to 4 mil a month offer. So the importance of having such a good company sales meeting structure is super important. I urge you to implement this today.